Good afternoon and welcome to Tech Home Builder Online Summit Session, The Healthy Home Imperative. The National Center for Healthy Housing reports a healthy home is housing that is designed, constructed, maintained, and rehabilitated in a manner that is conducive to good occupant health. Today we're going to talk about the categories that make up the healthy home, what's driving the demand to live in a healthier home, and also talk from a builder's perspective why it's time to consider investments in that category. From the tech home taxonomy point of view, this crosses a number of the categories from the home automation and electronics, lighting, HVAC and indoor air quality, water, as well as high performance building materials. Today, we're in a great shape with Michael D. Hamm. He's a co-founder and CTO of Pure360, and CR Herro, VP of Innovations for Meritage Homes. And both are heavily invested in this category, and I think we've got two great perspectives to learn from today. So we're going to start right off with Michael. He's going to talk a little bit about what's driving the need and desire for consumers to live in a healthier home.
Thanks, Joe, for having us. Nice to be on with you as well, CR.
Thank you.
Hopefully we can give builders a great perspective on wellness today. I want to start off by just showing a few stats backed by science, some of the facts that have been researched and studied and presented over the years. And surprisingly, a lot of people don't know about this. They don't know their indoor air environments are worse than the outdoor because everything's invisible. So the EPA here, as you can see, it states that we Americans on average, we spend approximately 90, post-COVID, it's probably over 95% of our time indoors. And pollutants make it 2 to 5 times worse. And we've seen it even much worse than that from the sensors that we deploy. Another staggering stat as it pertains to health is that 1/3 of all deaths from stroke, lung cancer, and heart disease. Heart disease is cardiovascular is the number one killer, but it's directly tied to air pollution. And the WHO deems it to be the world's largest environmental health threat, calling it the new tobacco. And we're seeing the COVID numbers, but there's a staggering number of deaths that tied to the air pollution, and that's over 8 million premature deaths a year. So it's certainly something not a lot of people think about, but pollution is definitely real, and it affects us every day, even in our homes. And indoor radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer. So all of these things we want, like builders, they need to be aware of it. They need to be able to show their home buyers that they're building something that's protecting their overall health. So I just wanted to share some of these facts to start off with. We want to show some surveys done by different cohorts, and this one is a survey specifically asking home buyers and homeowners what are the most important concerns for them. And as you can see here, indoor air quality and water quality is always at the top. More exposure to what chemicals are doing to our health. We can see materials and chemicals. CR can speak to that because he's been a trailblazer in reducing the amount of chemical exposure in the homes he builds. And lighting is certainly an issue. It's coming up with Circadian, but it's not mainstream yet, but it's certainly a topic that's coming up. But sure. I just want to clarify, air and water are the top wellness concerns amongst consumers.
And I know, Michael, I spend part-time on the West Coast, and the fires in California, we get daily reports on the air quality, and it's staggering. I mean, you're supposed to stay inside. It's really tough. CR, so what drove you to investigate Healthy Home, how the value that it would bring to prospective buyers, and led you to invest in delivering a healthier home?
Yeah, so one of the brand promises we make and the way we kind of personify what we believe in as a company is to make sure that we're trusted experts, that we look at what we as builders can do to contribute to improve people's qualities of lives. And as we've looked at those statistic references to how builders choose better homes, we consistently seen health continue to evolve as an important feature that consumers are looking for to differentiate good and better in homes. And so we wanted to, one, meet the customer's expectations, but to inspire them as building scientists that they can and should have more to protect their family and to live a better quality of life. So health is one of those indices that as a business strategy is really important to differentiate yourself from the other homes that are good enough in the same zip code.
So, Michael, anything else from the consumer's point of view? What are they thinking about indoor air quality, and what's going on right now with the COVID-19 situation?
Well, all the studies and surveys show clearly that consumers are looking at indoor air quality as a necessity as opposed to a luxury. And you're looking at this slide here, but the building industry was asked, what do you think, which segment will be most affected by COVID? And as you can see, indoor air quality and health and wellness is at the very top. So whether it's the consumer, whether it's the builder, everything has upticked post-COVID, and it's clearly a strong demand. It's up to the builder how best to present the value. And that's something that CR can speak to. But really, you got to be able to delineate how you separate your offering with your other builders.
Got it. So are people seeing the value? Are they willing to pay more money or make those investment in the options? CR?
I think what we're finding is that consumers are receptive and leaning into the conversation. What they don't know is what's available to them that's credible and that can significantly improve the health of their family. And so they're looking for builders and their partners to help them and advocate for them to get something better than the home they currently live in. And so it's beholden on builders to continue to be that expert and to inspire these consumers on, here's the credible technologies, here's the things that I'm doing that you're not going to find in other homes, and here's what an average family would experience from these improvements.
Got it. Michael, anything to add there?
No, that's really where it stands right now. There's clearly a demand for it. People want, because they're spending their most time in their homes, they want it to be something that's benefiting the health of their families. They just don't know enough about what is best for them. And that's where builders, like CR is saying, they need to have that basic knowledge, and they need to put things in place that give confidence to the homeowner.
Perfect. So let's walk through the different categories. We've got air, water, lighting, building materials. We'll start with air. And Michael, why don't you talk a little bit about what we do to make sure we've got the best air in the house?
So as a builder, if you want to tackle true indoor air quality problems, you really have to focus on these three categories that you're seeing. Advanced filtration. There's a lot of different types of filters. You know, everyone knows the mantra, you get what you pay for. So if you buy a MERV 8 filter, you're just going to get a certain level of filtration. And you really want, if you want the highest level of advanced filtration, it will filter down to the virus level and smaller. So those are things with recirculated air. You want to constantly control and reduce your particulate level. And we'll see in a bit how that impacts our health. Bringing fresh air from outdoor is extremely important. And the third aspect is humidity control. You want to keep it in between 40 and 60. And then radon is also very important. So if we go to the next slide, I have Dr. Joel and CR is a building scientist too, so he can chime in anytime here. But, you know, with the school reopening and the offices and even the homes, what they say is important is to prioritize fresh outdoor air to dilute pollutants and microorganisms. Use, once again, high efficiency filters, meaning advanced filtration, and then supplemental filtration strategies like standalone air cleaners. They're missing humidity control here, but those are the three main aspects of indoor air quality.
CR, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think what we've really seen is a shift. A year ago, there was probably three main categories. It was chemicals, volatile organic compounds that could harm the habitants. It was particulate, so things that people were breathing that was aggravating asthma, or there's such a growing amount of airborne allergies in the United States today that just general particulate was something of concern. And then in certain places, we saw a lot of consumer awareness around radon. What the conversation has shifted to for the average 36-year-old mom who's buying a home are these biologically added particulate, right? That viruses are something that aren't often captured by conventional filtration systems. There's not a lot of antimicrobial surfaces in conventional building, but those technologies exist, and those are great opportunities to start controlling the things that drove the pandemic and reduce them from being recirculated in the air.
Exactly, CR. And as you can see from this image, most of the air quality people focus on PM 2.5 or HEPA, which captures 99.97 down to 0.3 microns. So you can see here, viruses are at the 0.1 on average, 0.1 micron level. Just to give you an example, everything you see in here, you cannot see with the naked eye. The width of a strand of a hair is PM, on average, PM 75. So you can see how small these things are, and you really need advanced filtration to filter down to the microorganism level. And interestingly here, 0.1 microns and smaller, they're classified as ultrafine particles. The reason why these are the most dangerous is because they are small enough to penetrate through the lungs, go into your bloodstream, and affect every cell and organ in the body. This has an impact, negative impact on cardiovascular, reproductive, cognitive, you name it, gut microbiome. So we're gonna see over time with the monitors, what system is gonna be the best at reducing exposure to ultrafine particles.
CR, what are some of the considerations when you're designing the house, planning the house, working with your HVAC contractor? Is it a big deal to add these filtration systems, or pretty straightforward?
No, it's very, very straightforward. The kind of principles to good indoor air quality are to reduce uncontrolled transport, so do a really good job sealing your home and having a good weather barrier. 2, don't introduce harmful materials, so look at your building supply materials, source low VOC materials. And then 3, buyers are going to have behaviors that introduce certain compounds into the house, whether it's cleaning materials or particulates or the family pet. Enable them to remove those through a fresh air supply, as Michael talked about, and this ultrafiltration remove the biologically active particulate all the way down to fumes on the really good systems.
Got it. So we talked about air, and let's shift to water. Michael, take us through what we're talking about with clean water.
Sure. So air and water really go hand in hand, right? Because we're breathing 23,000 breaths a day. So imagine the difference over a lifetime between breathing clean air and polluted air, right? That's certainly over time, it has a profound impact. And it's the same thing for water. From the day that you're born, as you can see from the environmental working group study here, nearly all Americans, including newborn babies, have forever chemicals in their blood, up to 110 million people. So it's an issue that not many people are aware of, and it's really important to get this get this information out there to builders too, so they can educate during the sales process. And why do people drink bottled water? Because they don't trust their tap water. But now studies are showing that 93% of samples taken from 259 bottled waters were found to contain synthetic polymers. So Joe and CR, none of us would drink a bottle of water if we knew they were sprayed with some particles in them, right? So, but people just don't know about it. That's why they're drinking. So because people don't trust their tap water, they buy bottled water. It increases single-use plastics. A dump truck load is tossed into the ocean every minute, right? Causes more pollution, killing of marine wildlife, and then it leads to more of a lack of clean drinking water. So there's this death spiral. So how do we deal with these things, right? And in the end, the experts say it's got to be about purification. We got to get people using less single plastics. And the best place to do that is actually in the home. And CR, I know with your Vision House, everything from energy to gray water, you're going off the grid, low impact or zero impact on the environment. These are things builders can use to market, and especially millennials, people who are looking to buy their first homes, they are really in tune with sustainability and environmental impact, something builders should consider.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. One of the challenges and therefore opportunities is that the average consumer assumes that what comes out of their tap is healthy, right? We live in a modern world, and we've got the EPA and all these organizations that control their health. But what they don't understand is there is miles and miles of networks of pipe that potable water has to go through, and they have to treat it with antibacterial and antifungal chemicals that will have residual trace amounts in your drinking water. And so you're cooking with it, you're bathing in it, you're drinking it, and point source treatment is the only way to tie into the modern distribution grid and effectively deliver out of your tap healthy drinking water, bathing water, eating water, cooking water.
Right, right. Really good point. If you can go back to the previous slide, I just want to convey to our builder, audience that there's many different grades of filtration. So when we start with particle or microfiltration, it's like the Brita filter. They'll get rid of all the big particles coming into your main line. But you really got to get up to ultra nano to get rid of the more dangerous particles like pharmaceuticals, synthetics. And RO, reverse osmosis, is really the only technology that will get rid of the PFAS, heavy metals, and actually the most dangerous. So there's many different grades of filtration. What we want to do is offer water purification, right? And there's two ways to do it. You can have a basic system on your water main that gets rid of all that big stuff. And then just in your kitchen, you can have the water RO purification system for your drinking and cooking. The one on the right is people who don't want to compromise at all. They want, because the studies show also when you take a shower, your face absorbs 64% of contaminants and your armpits 100% of it. So there's no safe way with tap water. So the ones who don't compromise can go with the whole house purification system.
Awesome. CR, I know lighting is one of the newer categories in healthy home. Touch on that for a minute. What's going on there?
Yeah, so I'm a biologist and a chemist and an engineer. So one of the things that I'm aware of as a building scientist is how much the circadian rhythm, right, the change in the wavelengths of light that we're exposed to as the sun moves across the sky resets our internal clock. And so as the sun sets, the wavelengths get longer, we get prepared for sleep, we have a better sleep. But because we live in a built environment, we get exposed to the same wavelengths out of our lighting, out of our artificial lights. And so our bodies never get those environmental cues to make ourselves alert in the morning and start winding down at night. And we found out there's a tremendous amount of hormonal and biological impact and negative lifestyle impact to the lack of those reinforcing environmental cues in our population. And circadian lighting is actually allowing these synthetic lights to mirror those changes in diurnal, the daily wavelength changes, to help our bodies reset. So we're more alert and safer in the day, and that we get prepped for sleep and we sleep better at night so that we're healthier, we're regenerating, we've got better immune systems, and we're ready to be alert again the next day. So these health effects are really well known, and the challenge is the technology is coming behind that and finally giving us the tools to replace conventional lighting with these circadian lightings in a way that supports immune systems and occupant health. And it's that third leg of clean air, clean water, and giving our biological cues so that we ourselves are responsive back to a natural cycle.
And CR, you touched on the building materials, controlling what you can control. Anything else that you want to touch on before we get into the closing topics?
Yeah, just reinforcing the principles we talked about earlier. First, what you're looking at is a picture of a polyurethane, right? It's a really good air and weather barrier. So it prevents uncontrolled movement of particulate and biologicals and gases into the house. Then you're looking at building with healthy materials, low VOCs, putting in a fresh air system. And then finally, what we spent most of today talking about, putting in products and equipment that help remove dangerous materials from the air and from the water to reduce that exposure to the occupants.
Got it. Thanks. Well, we covered a lot here, and there's a lot to be consider with this. One of the things that I always look at is when you're trying to market a new home, what differentiates it from a used home, and things that are built in that you can't easily get in a used home are extremely important to why someone will choose to buy a new home. And I think this is one of the categories that will really stand out because you've got things behind the walls, invisible things in the air. I think there's a lot of value to that. Is there anything last that you can say about CR, about the homeowner perception and what you're getting from feedback from your buyers and your sales team?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of what we just talked about was very technical, and it's important that the underscored foundation of any health-based program is rooted in good science. But remind yourselves that your marketing and your sales have to be distilled back down to the benefits. You got to take all this good building science and convert it into something a 36-year-old mom is going to be inspired to do to protect their family. So that veneer of good, better, best, and that trusted expert that a builder represents and the partners that they've got in their supply chain to make sure the buyers have confidence. They don't know all this technical stuff, but they have confidence that the home they're buying is taking better care of their family than the other options they've got in the market.
That's a great point. Michael and CR, thank you so much for joining us today on this topic.
My pleasure.
Thanks for having us.